It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It is Tuesday, March 9th, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today, we'll get some coronavirus updates, current news from around the world, the Best Class Ever segment with Sean Juice McMillan, and of course, looking into this week's scriptures, the book of Matthew. All right, guys. How are you doing? Today, it is Tuesday. Monday is officially over, and I'm sure you guys are really happy that you finally got Monday over with. I hope you guys are enjoying the beginning of this week, and really thankful you've joined us here on the Morning Star Drive, so keep liking and commenting, and want to hear from you guys and see how you are doing. What's going on tonight, guys? Well, last night we just had the Monday night Zoom Bible study. It went really successful. It should be posted on Patreon by today, and of course, we have the new vlog that comes out tonight. And yes, it's a pretty sad one for me, guys. I had to record this very recently. It's about the worst day of my life. Yes, in my YouTube life, this is probably I wasn't very, very happy. And I actually wanted to, I was getting a little bit extreme in my head. But either way, go ahead, watch that vlog tonight. It's kind of funny. It's funny, it's funny now. But, you know, when you look at my vlogs, it's always something that happens, and you look back on it, and it's hilarious, right? So I think you guys will enjoy this one too. Also, remember last Sunday edition, we met Ju Soo-jung from Korea. Great interview, learning about her journey into this history. Super fun, insightful, and hope you guys really enjoy it. So make sure to check out the Sunday edition this week. You're going to hear about just some great stories about her evangelizing her mother at the moment. And her mother used to be in Shincheonji, as crazy as that is, right? So that's an amazing story. Also, what else is there? It's Tuesday. Well, guys, officially next week, we're going to have 316, right? Literally a week from today. Yeah, literally a week from today is going to be 316, so I hope you guys are preparing and readying yourselves for that, whether it's fasting, whether it's praying, setting conditions, whatever it is. I hope that all of us can really get ourselves to start praying deeply more to the Lord, especially with this week's message. All right, so let's get this show started on this tubular, terrific, tantric, I don't even know what that means. Tuesday, and what are we listed today? Today's featured artist is going to be Dio Wings from Korea, and yes, like I said it before, guys, new album coming out on 316, so that's going to be hot. So hopefully we get some more songs from there, and the song that we're going to hear today is Round and Round. The second song for Justar Aiden Verdi over there in New Zealand, and this is Cameron Fry Takes a Stand. And last but not least, this third song is from Renee Lai in Taiwan, and this song is called Youth, and it's a cover of a song from Mingren, and this song is called Youth. So everyone, please welcome and listen and support all these member artists from around the world, and support them especially through your prayers.
어느 긴 밤 별한 나를 찾자 자꾸만 돌고 돌았던 어린 예전의 나 어둠 속에 밀려오던 그리움이 자꾸만 나를 삼켰네요 빛나던 나의 태양 떠나지 말아요 어딜 가도 운명처럼 정해져버린 나는 그대 주위에 맴도는 빛나는 별 순간의 어둠에 헤매여도 다시 자석처럼 이끌리는 강력한 새틀라이트 어디로 가는지 이래도 되는지 망설이던 찰나 돌고 돌아온 한참에 결국 찾아낸 you 유유히 흘러가는 강물이 다시 바다로 되돌아 흐르듯이
Round and round
모든 시작과 끝 언제나 새로운 원점 그대로부터 난 놀랍게 다시 태어나 예상치 못한 드라마처럼 필름이 자꾸만 끊겨다 이어져 나는 나의 태양 곁에 있어줘요 흐르는 내 맘을 막아봤자 더 높이 차고 넘쳐 흘렀어 Do not stop me 강물이 바다로 흘러가 나 때문에 갇혀 막힌다 해도 그 순간에 break 쏟아져 내리는 폭포같이 막힘없이 흘러 너란 바다로 흘러들어 돌고 돌아온 한 점에 날 기다려준 you 유유히 흘러가는 강물이 다시 바다로 되돌아 흐르듯이 나 역시 오던 길을 되돌아 그대에게로만 흘러가고 있어 Round and round and round 내 영혼이 그댈 찾아 Round and round and round 돌고 돌아 흘러가네 Round and round and round 돌고 도는 무한한 궤도 어느 순간 부딪힌 question 그대가 그린 선을 따라 You're the only answer Round and round and round 내 영혼이 그댈 찾아 Round and round and round 돌고 돌아 흘러가네 Round and round and round Round and round and round Round and round and round Round and round and round
I'm ready to take the heat. I'm ready to take a stand. I'm not gonna stand for this, being pushed around again. I hate to see you kiss your car, and then you go and hate your girl. So hit me with all you've got, 'cause I'm ready to face you now. I'm ready to take the heat. I'm ready to take a stand. I'm not gonna stand for this, being pushed around again. I hate to see you kiss your car, and then you go and hate your girl. So hit me with all you've got, 'cause I'm ready to face you now. I made myself small. I hid in a corner. I played the good girl. Not this time, no longer. I made myself small. I hid in a corner. I played the good girl. Not this time, no longer. I'm ready to take the heat. I'm ready to take a stand. I'm not gonna stand for this, being pushed around again. I hate to see you kiss your car, and then you go and hate your girl. So hit me with all you've got, 'cause I'm ready to face you now. I made myself small. I hid in a corner. I played the good girl. Not this time, no longer. I made myself small. I hid in a corner. I played the good girl. Not this time, no longer. I'm ready to take the heat. I'm ready to take a stand. I'm not gonna stand for this, being pushed around again. I hate to see you I'm ready to. I'm ready.
换种生活，让自己变得快乐，放弃执着，天气就会变得不错。每次走过都是一次收获，还等什么做对的选择？过去的就让它过去吧，别管那是一个玩笑还是谎话。路在脚下，其实并不复杂，只要记得你是你呀。还是从前那个少年，没有一丝丝改变。时间只不过是考验，种在心中信念丝毫未减。眼前这个少年，还是最初那张脸。面前再多艰险不退却，是 never never give up like a fire。追逐生命里光临身边的每道光，让世界因为你的存在变得闪亮。其实你我他并没有什么不同，只要你愿为希望画出一道想象。成长的路上必然经历很多风雨，相信自己终有属于你的胜局。别因为磨难停住你的脚步，坚持住就会拥有属于你的蓝图。我还是从前那个少年，没有一丝丝改变。时间只不过是考验，种在心中信念丝毫未减。眼前这个少年，还是最初那张脸。面前再多艰险不退却，是 never never give up like a fire。生命里光临身边的没有一丝丝改变。其实你我他并没有什么不同，心中信念丝毫未减。面前再多艰险不退却，是 never never give up like a fire。
And that was Renee Lai from Taiwan, and that song is a cover from Meng Run, which the song is called Youth. Before that was Juice Star Aiden Verity from New Zealand, and that was Cameron Fry Takes a Stand. And of course, feature artist of the day, Dio Wings from Korea, and that is Round and Round. And of course, like I said, a new album is coming out on 3/16, so super excited about that. All right, so let's get into a time of world news, okay? So in the world, we'll start with coronavirus updates. In the world, there are now 117.4 million cases with 2.6 million deaths at a 2.22%, and it remains steady there. The U.S., top 6 countries going by daily infection rates. We have the U.S. with 29.6 million cases, 537,000 deaths at 1.81%, so it did go down. It did remain the same from yesterday. India, 11.2 million cases, 157,000 deaths at 1.41%. Brazil, which is second highest deaths in the world, is 11 million cases, 265,000 deaths at 2.41%. France, 3.9 million cases, 88,000 deaths at 2.27%. Italy, 3 million cases, 99,000 deaths at 3.25%. And Poland rounds up the top 6 with 1.7 million cases, 45,000 deaths at 2.52%. Sweden, only country not going to lockdown at 1.9% mortality rate. And Belgium drops to 2.83%. All right, so here are the daily infection rates, and it's remaining steady. The U.S. is going down a lot because they're remaining in second already for since the weekend, right? So Brazil, that's 67,000 cases, and they're the number one, 67,000 cases in a day, then the US at 58,000, then Italy and France at 23,000 cases in a day, India with 18,000 cases, and then Poland with 14,000 cases. Over here in Southeast Asia, it is Indonesia with 5,700 cases in a day, and then the Philippines going up again to 3,400 cases, and then half of that is going to be from Malaysia at 1,600 cases in a single day. All right, so let's get to the top 3 news for today. A couple things going on, and first news is, because I'm in Asia right now, is what is causing vaccine delays in a lot of these Asian countries. So right now, an estimated 160 million people have received vaccinations so far globally. but most of that has been in the US and Europe. So in the Asian region, vaccination programs are steadily progressing in places like India, which says it has administered around 14 million doses since January. In other countries, however, vaccine programs are either yet to begin or still at a very early stage. And the reasons for this have been they're varied, ranging from the abundance of caution to high levels of vaccine skepticism. So we looked at some of the countries in the situation and the differences behind it. So I'm also looking at a chart right now too. It says, when will countries be fully covered with the vaccinations? Well, it says if it's late 2021, it's most of the Western world, right? We're looking at Russia, and we're looking at Europe, America, Canada, and anyone who's finishing this year is going to be very, like a lot of these richer countries. And then by mid 2022 is going to, well, it's actually like the US for sure is late 2021. Lots of places in Europe will be late 2021. Middle of 2022 is going to be like Canada and Mexico, some parts of South America, not all of it, Australia, South Africa, Russia, China, and those places up there should be by mid 2022. Late 2022 and from early 2023 is mainly Africa and Asia. Right? So it's mainly Africa and Asia, some parts of South America that are a little bit more poor, right? So like, for instance, in the Philippines, many still recall the scare about there's this one vaccine that was introduced in 2016. And it was a vaccine for dengue fever, right? But 2 years later, it was suddenly suspended because of the side effects, when some children who received it actually died. So the country's health secretary was prosecuted, leading to a massive controversy, and public health officials say the incident led to a surge of vaccine skepticism, right? So there are things like this going on that makes it like hard for some countries to receive the vaccines. And a recent survey suggests that about only 19% of Filipinos, or about 1 in 5 adults, are willing to be inoculated with the vaccine. And apart from that, a bulk of the vaccines themselves are yet to arrive even in the country. Shipments of China's Sinovac vaccine arrived in the country on February 28th, and which is the first shipment to reach there, and the country authorized its emergency use a few days before it arrived. Now, according to the BBC, in Manila, the drive was supposed to have begun on February 15th, but this didn't happen when shipments of Pfizer, BioNTech, and AstraZeneca, both approved for emergency use, did not arrive on time. So AstraZeneca finally arrived in the country on March 4th, and in Pakistan too. Like, if you look at Pakistan, fear is a factor. This is largely because of misinformation and some particularly effective viral videos. So one of the viral videos that happened in 2020, private school teacher is shown shouting frantically and gesturing to a group of boys who are seemingly passing out. He blames the polio vaccine, saying that children are unconscious, and berates officials for forcing them to administer it, and a mob burned down a clinic as a result of that. So the video and others like it have kind of long contributed to the declining rates of polio vaccination in the country, and even though they've been debunked and removed from social media, millions had already watched them, and their skepticism is really high. So the fallout is unsurprisingly affected plans to vaccinate the population against COVID as well. So one report quoted a doctor in Peshawar as saying that on the first day of the vaccination drive, about 400 healthcare workers were supposed to get the jab, but only about 12 people showed up, right? So that's how bad the skepticism is. So another thing that Asian countries are doing a little bit more is a cautious approach. So in other Asian countries, right? So the first reason we looked at was there's like misinformation or skepticism because of things that have happened in the past. The second reason is some Asian countries are taking a very cautious approach. So in other Asian countries where vaccine programs are just getting off the ground, officials and experts say that's down to caution rather than hesitancy. So many of these nations have been largely able to control the pandemic and feel they have the luxury of time because it's being controlled. Right? So there's an epidemiologist in Australia's Deakin University, was quoted by the Associated Press news agency as saying, by waiting, these countries have been able to get data on things like what happens in cases of accidental overdosage, how it impacts pregnant women without exposing their own populations to the risk. So in South Korea, we talked about this last week, the prime minister reiterated this when he defended his government's late rollout that began on February 25th by saying it was deliberately done to see how the vaccine had fared elsewhere. But then he, of course, this prime minister also said that the Koreans are the master of speed. Right? Other countries in this region, Singapore, Cambodia, Vietnam, have seen similar comments about the importance of waiting made by officials. So despite the delay, many of them hope to begin vaccination in earnest, right? So South Korea, for instance, is aiming to archive herd immunity by autumn, which is ridiculously fast, right? Thailand will only begin vaccinations in March, but says it hopes to vaccinate half its population by the middle of the year. And Singapore, which has vaccinated around 250,000 people, despite procuring enough jabs for its entire population, says it will ramp up its program by the end of April. Right. Another reason why it's not happening very quickly in Asia because of vaccine hesitancy. So let's take a look at Japan. In Japan, successful drive is being seen as crucial to the country's chances of successfully hosting the Olympics as planned. So vaccine hesitancy has long been a problem. The country has one of the lowest rates of vaccine confidence in the world. So in the early 90s, there was measles, mumps, and rubella inoculation, and it was suspected to leading to higher rates of aseptic meningitis. But there was no definitive link that was established, but the shots were discontinued from use because it was suspected. So there's one doctor, a research with the Kyoto University School of Medicine, and they feels there's been a lack of a cohesive strategy to explain the importance of the vaccine to the public, but also that the sensationalist headlines on vaccine mishaps in the past have a similar effect as the more recent online-driven anti-vaxxer campaigns, right? So gaining public trust for such an essential campaign has been deemed so important that Japan actually delayed approving vaccines like the one from Pfizer. So after the company reported the results of its phase 3 trials, the US and UK immediately authorized it for use in early December, but Japan insisted on additional testing and only began vaccinations February 17th. So there's another doctor told the BBC that the pandemic not hitting Japan as hard as many other countries also meant that people really didn't see the point of getting the vaccine, though this doctor feels that sentiment has changed for the better. But now, after seeing how many people have taken it with very few adverse effects, people in Japan are more willing. And also, this doctor believes that sentiment has shifted significantly very quickly, perhaps in the last 3 weeks of February, as more countries began mass vaccination drives, right? So, yeah, guys, it's just chart. I wish I was showing the video about this. Later when our podcast goes video, we can see this. But it's really interesting just to see how late a lot of these vaccinations are going to be done. And it's going to go all the way into early 2023 for the entire world. So this is quite interesting, guys. Like late 2021, I only see very few places. I only see America. I see Europe. And that's it. America and Europe are the only ones going to be ready, well, just from this map I'm looking at, by late 2021. And then mid-2022 is like Canada and Mexico, South America, most of South America, Central America, Australia, South Africa, like, you know, China, Russia, they're all going to be mid-2022. So we are looking at, like, the borders not really opening up until way later, right? And then, of course, late 2022 and early 2023 is basically most of Africa and most of Asia. Most of Africa and Asia. So it is a very late vaccination programs that are happening in Asia right now. So I might look at that and say, oh my gosh, I might be here longer than I thought I would be. Okay. Second thing happening on news. We have huge explosions rock Equatorial Guinea's main city. At least 15 people have died and hundreds more have been injured in a series of explosions in Equatorial Guinea, the health ministry says. Some 500 people were injured following the blast, which happened near a military barracks in the main city of Bata on Sunday. The blasts were caused by negligence relating to the storage of dynamite at the barracks. Right? This is what the president said. So images on social media showed huge plumes of smoke and widespread damage, and state television showed people looking for survivors in the rubble and lifting up debris from collapsed buildings. And the president said in a statement that the impact of the explosion caused damage in almost all the houses and buildings in Bata and called for international help with aid. And he added that the incident may have occurred following the burning of fields surrounding the barracks by farmers. So in a series of tweets, the health ministry asked for volunteer health workers to go to Bata Regional Hospital. It has also asked for blood donations due to the higher number of casualties, and it listed 3 hospitals where the seriously and very seriously injured were being transferred, and some local hospitals have been overwhelmed by the number of patients admitted. Right? So video posted on social media of the aftermath of the explosion showed a chaotic scene of distressed people fleeing as smoke drifted over the area. And like people were just saying, all they heard was explosion, tons of smoke, but no one knew what was going on, right? So in a tweet already, France's ambassador sent his condolences to the victims, describing the event as a catastrophe. So that is over there in Equatorial Guinea's main city, okay? Let's move into the last news for today. It's talking about Iraq. Iraq had a rocket attack, and now this is what the U.S.'s response. So the U.S. will do what's necessary after Iraq rocket attack, and this is what the Pentagon chief was saying. So the U.S. will do what's necessary to defend itself, the Pentagon chief Lloyd Austin said Sunday, days after rockets hit an Iraqi base hosting coalition troops, further escalating U.S.-Iran tensions on Iraqi soil. So Austin also told ABC News that the U.S. is still developing intelligence on who was behind the attack, which saw around 10 rockets slam into the sprawling military base in Iraq's western desert on March 3rd. No U.S. service members were injured, but an American civilian contractor suffered a cardiac episode while sheltering and died shortly after, the Pentagon has said. And Austin said Washington was urging Iraqi authorities to move quickly to investigate who was behind the attack, the fourth in recent weeks targeting locations where U.S. forces operate. So they want to make sure that, once again, they understand they need to find out who's responsible. And the message to those who would carry out such an attack is, that the U.S. is going to defend themselves, right? So basically, the Pentagon chief said, "We'll strike if that's what we think. Well, that's what we think we need to do at a time and place of our own choosing." And Wednesday's attack came 5 days after the U.S. retaliated to earlier assaults, bombing a border depot in Syria, which the Pentagon said was used by Iran-backed Iraqi armed militia that have been tied to the rocket attacks. So observers did say the rockets may be Tehran's way of pressuring Washington under Joe Biden, which under Joe Biden is offering to revive the Iran nuclear deal abandoned by his predecessor Donald Trump. And Biden also said the United States is working to identify those responsible and will make judgments from that point. And Austin was asked if Iran had been given the message that any further retaliation was not an escalation. And he basically responded, "I think Iran is fully capable of assessing the strike and our activities, and they'll draw their own conclusions," right? So basically, the U.S. is saying they will defend if they have to, right? So they'll find out who did it first, right? So this military base was a host for U.S.-led coalition troops helping fight the Islamic State group, and tensions between Washington and Tehran peaked in January 2020 after a U.S. drone strike on Baghdad killed Iranian General Soleimani and top Iraqi paramilitary commander al-Muhandis, right? So in response, during that time, Iran launched ballistic missiles on two different areas, about wounding dozens, but no one was dead. No American soldiers were dead either. So over the next 10 months now, since then, dozens of rockets and roadside bombs targeted Western security, military, and diplomatic sites across Iraq, some of them deadly. So the attacks came to a near complete halt in October following a truce with the hardliners, but they have resumed over the past 3 weeks. Right, so that is the news going on right now around the world. Those are the top 3 that I've chosen. Well, it's only Tuesday, so there's much more coming out too. All right, guys. So everyone, that is the end of today's current news. Hope you guys really got something from that, which means we're going to go into a more spiritual time of praise and worship together with the Holy Trinity. What are we going to hear today, guys? We're going to start off with the Ideal World 2, get our blood pumping, and we'll go even further by Let's Make God and the Holy Spirit Rejoice, and then we'll break things down to the Fulfillment of Hope. All right, guys, as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let us come together and give glory and praise to the Holy Trinity.
Let's all run, Providence calls, history awaits. Let us rise up and shine heaven's truth. Now let us go to the place where ideal world. Let's all run, Providence calls, history awaits. Let us rise up and shine heaven's truth. Now let us go to the place where our Lord reigns. There we will live, valuably as gold. We can fulfill the hope of the next 1,000 years. Hey, young people, wake up and realize. Hey, young people, hurry, come on. You are precious, young people of today. You're shining bright, young people of today. Young people come, young people come. It's the world ruled by the Lord, the new history will fulfill God's purpose for mankind. Now the words being proclaimed by your Lord here in this place. History is made here in Providence, the ideal world. Now the words being proclaimed by your Lord here in this place. History is made here in Providence, the ideal world. This is Providence, the ideal world.
Without the Spirit and Holy Son, we're strengthened 'cause we love the Trinity. We're joyful. Love overflows, never ending. Our hearts are inspired. Dun, 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 dun. Without the Spirit and Holy Son, we're strengthened 'cause we love the Trinity. We're joyful. Love overflows, never ending. Our hearts are inspired. Dun, 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 dun. Everyone clap all together. Everyone sing. Everyone get on your feet and dance. God and the Holy Spirit will surely rejoice. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Everyone clap all together. Everyone sing. Everyone get on your feet and dance. God and the Holy Spirit will surely rejoice. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, hey, Some people wait, hoping for what they expect could be. Those kind of people know a shadow of heaven's perfect joy. Even though hope may be burning in their hearts, what they're expecting will never come true. All they gain is the joy within their hearts. Such are the people who keep hoping the Lord will come. They feel heaven only within their heart and thoughts. We have received the Lord, we have fulfilled our hope. This is not a dream, our hope is real. Now we really gain heaven in both our bodies and spirits, genuine joy. 1,000 years, we will rejoice, we will celebrate. We fulfill perfect eternal love. We have fulfilled our hope. Others haven't fulfilled theirs yet. Our joy is heaven, theirs is earth. What we have gained can't compare. Know this and be thankful each day. Sing it all for glory. With all your heart, will and your life. This is the best life, joyful and meaningful. Love doesn't leave regret. We have fulfilled our hope. Others haven't fulfilled theirs yet. Our joy is heaven, theirs is earth. What we have gained can't compare. Know this and be thankful each day. Sing it all for glory. With all your heart, will and your life. This is the best life, joyful and meaningful. Love doesn't leave regrets. Sing it all for glory. With all your heart, will and your life. This is the best life, joyful and meaningful. Love doesn't leave regrets. Sing it all for glory. With all your heart, will and your life. This is the best life, joyful and meaningful. Love doesn't leave regrets. Love doesn't leave regrets. Love doesn't leave regrets.
And there you go. That was the fulfillment of hope. I hope you guys really enjoyed that time of praise and worship together. And that was Let's Make God and the Holy Spirit Rejoice. And of course, Ideal World 2. And that will brings us into the time of word study for today. And of course, it is Tuesday, so we get to go into more of the background of the situation, what's going on with a lot of these books, right? So Matthew we've done a bunch of times, but I want to go a little bit more into the historical context of the situation behind Matthew. And, you know, just as Pastor Joan is focusing a lot on like biblical history and such, and reading the Bible, I do think this is something I've been doing for a year already, and it's something that I was really thinking that is so important that we need to, the only way we're going to memorize these things is if we just keep going over it over and over until we kind of memorize it, right? So, Matthew we've done a bunch of times, but I'm going to go a little bit more deeper and give you a little bit more information and same information too. But I'm pretty sure, guys, you don't remember all the things about Matthew besides he's a tax collector and he's one of the 12 apostles, right? There's probably not a lot that you guys are going to remember from this. So let's go into today's word study on the book of Matthew. So Matthew, his message that he gives through the book of the Gospel of Matthew is that Jesus of Nazareth is the person that fulfilled the messianic prophecies of the Old Testament, right? Or if you put into other words, like God's plan of redemption has begun in the history of Israel through Jesus, and all the prophets, the prophecies, the events and activities of the people of God has climactically finished in the person of Christ, right? So it's kind of like, that's a little bit more dramatic, right? But that's kind of what his message is to the people. So the background of which this Gospel of Matthew comes, it's at a time when Judaism has undergone this really big, vast doctrinal development, especially during the 400 years before Jesus came. Because remember, there's this 400 years of silence between Malachi and Jesus. So during what was actually happening spiritually during that interbiblical time between those two time periods, those two testaments. And there was a significant change in the concept of the coming of the Messiah and the attending circumstances and results of that great event. So prophecy in the Old Testament prepared the setting for God's fulfillment of his redemptive work in Christ, right? So in Christ, the plan of redemption is completed. But during the long period between the two testaments, those 400 years since Malachi, Israel's messianic hope gradually but surely took on a different expectation. So it's a very, you got to think about it, it's a very bleak and dark background. So against this dark background of being in bondage and affliction by foreign powers, they were under Persia, under Babylon, under Greece, under Rome, right? The Jews were looking for a political Messiah who would deliver them from the yoke of Rome. So the Messiah king was expected to reestablish the Davidic monarchy after conquering all the enemies of God. So he would reign in glory on the throne of God in Jerusalem, the city of the great king, and he would make his appearance at the temple and conqueringly declare his messiahship with great signs and wonders, and then Israel would rule the world under his sovereign power, and his disciples would reign with him in splendor and glory. Right? So against this traditional expectation of the Jews, Matthew shows that Jesus indeed came to reign as a king, but upon the throne of the hearts of those who accept him by faith, right? So he came to establish his kingdom, but a kingdom which would be the rule of God in the hearts of his children by faith, not in the physical. So Matthew is careful to reveal the kind of king Jesus came to be and the kind of kingdom he came to establish. So the message of the king and his kingdom will be better understood in the light of a brief study of the background of the Gospels, right? So what's it saying, guys? Over the 400 years, it became something where they're so oppressed and afflicted by foreign powers that they're expecting this Messiah to come and take over the world and destroy everyone and become the rulers of the world. So that's kind of the expectation that kind of changed. But Matthew's saying, no, it's a rule. The kingdom and the rule is in our hearts to those that accept him, right? So Matthew, we know he's a tax collector, right? And he was called by Jesus. And there's not very many records of him, though. So the only record we have of Matthew, besides the list of disciples found in Matthew chapter 9, is the records that he is called Levi, and he is a publican or tax gatherer or tax collector, right? So a publican back then is someone who was vilely hated by the Jews because they're the ones cheating their own people for taxes, right? So in the Gospel of Matthew, he's identified as Matthew the tax collector, and in all the lists of the apostles in the gospel in the Gospels and in the book of Acts, aside from Matthew itself, he is listed simply as Matthew. Now, Levi doubtless was his Jewish name, right? Later changed to Matthew, the Greek equivalent of Theodore, right? So Matthew is the Greek equivalent of Theodore, right? Meaning the gift of Jehovah. So perhaps the change was made because Levi was too obviously a Jewish name. So as a tax collector, this man, he had certainly turned traitor to the priestly tribe to which he belonged, and thus his change of name possibly carries a Christian significance as to his call to discipleship as a gift of God, right? So Matthew is mentioned also in Mark chapter 2 as a son of Alphaeus, right? And most commentators say he's not to be identified with Alphaeus, the father of James the Less and husband of Mary, who was present at Jesus' crucifixion. So there's people that post, they view that Matthew was a brother of James and stepson of Mary, from whom he received his insight into the events of the crucifixion. So these are what just some people are saying. But be that as it may, Matthew was noticeably different from the other apostles. He was not a rough fisherman as Peter, who eclipsed him in popularity in the Gospels. He likely was a quiet, meditative man, more interested in the teachings of Jesus than in the chronology of his ministry, and more cognizant of the content of his ministry than the chronological sequence of events. So some experts are saying that he loved a life of contemplation, being a man swift to hear, slow to speak, and he was unobservant and uncaring of the minutia of outward action. So his mind, no one really knows what's going through his mind though. But he just wrote probably one of the best gospels, right? So Matthew's call to apostleship was distinctive, and it is the only individual call in the records of the apostles aside from Paul's. So Matthew was called from his tax collector's booth in Capernaum in Galilee to follow Jesus, and his education and experience fitted him perfectly for his particular ministry. And he was a tax farmer under the tetrarchy of Herod Antipas. As tax collector, Matthew was educated in the use of both Aramaic and Greek, and he likely recorded the tax reports in Aramaic and later transferred them into Greek. That's why he's so I would say intelligent, right? Skilled at taking notes in shorthand, which is a practice that is common in Greece and Rome, and undoubtedly he was a man well acquainted with and fascinated by the use of figures and mathematical formulas, and there's ample evidence of this familiarity in the Gospel of Matthew. Okay, so Matthew as an author, a lot of some people would say that he wasn't the author that bears his name. Did he write the book, or was it some other Jewish Christian, right? And a majority of the New Testament scholars today, vast majority, and during the past century, have accepted the theory of the priority of Mark, and that Mark was the primary source for the compiler of the Gospel of Matthew. Because of this fact, many of the scholars take for an accepted fact that the Matthew authorship of the Gospel is invalid, but most people will say that it is Matthew, right? So that's quite interesting when you look at those types of things. But it's really, really good to know more than anything else the background, right? I think it's something that's really good that we should know the background of what was happening, what changed during those 400 years, right, from Malachi to Jesus, and how much their hearts changed, and what type of Messiah were they expecting to come. And of course, we all know that, as I said before, Matthew was not trying to convince Gentiles, he was trying to convince other Jews. And that's why he has tons of references from the Old Testament, right? There's more references, especially Isaiah though, but he's got more references of the Old Testament than any of the other Gospels, and his whole job is to prove that to Jews that, hey, this is the Messiah that was prophesied, and he has fulfilled all the prophecies, and that's why you'll see that's why I love the book of Matthew. Tons of prophecies in there. Okay, so that is the word study today. That is on the book of Matthew. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. If there's any other books or any other historical things that you'd like to learn, go ahead and write that in the comments, because I'd love to hear if there's any other word study that I really want to learn this, or I really want to learn that. Okay, cool. All right, that means we are going to get into the last song of choice for today. And we have something special today, because there is not just a request. This is a song that was made by a member who is studying in Korea right now from Mongolia. This is Ichigo. And this is a contest that she entered, and they have to make a song, right, of the Korean national anthem sung in various languages for patriots living in Korea. So Ichigo is a Mongolian member, and she's asking for some help in the contest. And she submitted this video, okay? And she made this song too. It's really cool. It's in Mongolian and Korean. So what are the standards of this song? It must contain the first verse from the national anthem, and it doesn't matter about the tune. The tune doesn't have to be the same, right? And also, it should create the feeling of dance, and you can also rap freely in it too. And of course, you can do it together with your Korean friends. And how does it work? it depends on how many hits you get, like how many views, how many likes, and comments. So likes and comments are the two big things, guys, that they want to get, likes and comments. So if we can help her out, we can definitely, I'll leave the link in the description so you can guys take a look at it. It's really fun song, guys. And it's not just her, it's with Hyomyoung. Those of you guys know Hyomyoung, he's like the head cheer guy, right? The guy with the yellow hair that's always dancing, got like crazy fireball energy. Yeah, he's the one doing it too, so you know it's going to be super fun. Also, this song is, wow, what's the name of this song? I think it's called Show Me the National Anthem, and it's going to be in Mongolian, right? That's the name of the contest, right? So this is Ichigo and Hyomyoung. So everyone listen up. It's going to be a fun song.
준다라 백두산 핫다츄 에렉대 후스텍 보고함 함가산 준다라 백두산 핫다츄 에렉대 후스텍 보고함 함가산 Now we are winner Coming to the 힘나 하나님이 보호하사 이겼다 Now we are winner Coming to the 힘나 새로운 이 삶의 두세만에 놓쳤었던 걸 풍비스포 해올사함 가랑외 써던 것서 여러 한가리야 남상호란 내 나스모 도물호야 오무쌤네 코리아 코리아 다같이 소리쳐 대한민국 만세 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 We love Korea 다 함께 춤을 춰 지금부터 모두 함께 Let's dance
서던 것 할때 서던 것 할때 서던 것 오르샤 서던 것 오르샤 서던 것 할때 오르샤
Korea Korea 다 같이 소리쳐 대한민국 만세 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 We love Korea 다 함께 춤을 춰 지금부터 모두 함께 Let's dance 모두 함께 대한민국 Korea Korea 부담부터 해내는 서던 것 오르샤 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 We love Korea 부담부터 무직 내 어떤 것 무대 Let's dance 후텐 살인 호랑 베빙이 애지 후치 댐들 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 엠네 후치 진세계 대래요 오스버서 오사하이르야
And yes, that is Show Me the National Anthem. Go, we are Korea. Tell me, guys, didn't you guys want to dance when you listened to that song? That was awesome. And you guys got to watch the music video, right? There's an actual video to it. So when you click the link in the description, you guys will love it. It is so fun, right? So, and I hope she wins. So remember, guys, like and comment. You have to like and comment. The video, you're going to watch anyways because it's so fun. But you got to like and comment. Make sure you do that. All right, guys? So that was Ichigo and Hyomyoung-yi, so I hope you guys will really support them even more. We're going to play it one more time because I believe this contest goes all the way to the 13th, so we'll play at least one or two more times before it all ends. Okay, so what does that mean now? It means it's time for the last segment for today, and it is Tuesday, which means we're going to have another segment of The Best Class Ever with Sean Jusung McMillan.
I love learning. I find it both meaningful and fun, which is a magical combination. This is also why I love teaching and why I love school. But somehow schools have managed to take the fun out of learning. While I love a great class, I no longer believe that the best learning is taking place in schools. The best learning is taking place on YouTube. My name is Sean Jusung McMillan, and this is the best class ever. Learning happens when people are motivated to put in the struggle to challenge themselves. Learning through YouTube allows people to follow their curiosity and get step-by-step instructions. But that curiosity first comes by simply being exposed to a good idea. That's why I do not spend a lot of time teaching people how to do things, but instead try to spend most of my time exposing people to great ideas. Because once you know something interesting exists, and once a good teacher gets you excited about how great that idea is, you can then go and teach yourself. We often say that we are wasting time on YouTube, but not all of it is meaningless. A significant portion of YouTube is tutorials on how to master your craft. This is why I don't think the future of learning is in schools or universities. The future of learning is on YouTube. This became abundantly clear to me when one of my best students finally started doing digital art. I spent all of this time and energy to get my students fired up about making digital illustrations in Photoshop using a Wacom stylus. The school provided them computers and digital drawing tablets. I made step-by-step videos for them, I made slideshows, I provided examples, worksheets, visual aids of every kind that I could think of. Then, one day, I saw my best art student doing exactly what I had been teaching for the past month. So I asked her, was it the slideshow that I provided? The step-by-step video tutorial that I created? What inspired you to finally start using the digital drawing tablet with Photoshop? And then she told me, oh, I didn't use any of that stuff you provided. I just found it on YouTube this week and decided to give it a try. I could not believe it. All my mountains of effort never broke through to exactly the kind of student that I was designing it for. There's almost no limit to how much a student will learn when they are truly motivated by self-interest, and we have to reach them through the platforms that are most convenient for them. I love teaching through games, but the only problem with games, at least the ones that I can make, are not really convenient for the students, and they require a lot of preparation from the teachers. Playing a game means you need access to the game, and then after that, you need to learn the rules to the game. That's a lot harder than just pressing a play button on a video. Video is not perfect either, but at least videos are accessible. The problem with video, from my point of view, is they are often too passive. So to create real learning, they must be engaging, intriguing, or at the very least, a little weird or mysterious. So today, I would like to introduce a few of my favorite YouTube channels and explain why they completely changed my outlook on math and literature. The first and most creative YouTube channel I love is ViHart. For those of you listening to this, that is ViHart, spelled V-I space H-A-R-T. ViHart is an extremely creative and eccentric math musician. She's made a series of videos that make math so fun and artistic that I would dare you to not fall in love with recreational mathematics after watching her videos. In her series on the golden spiral, also known as the golden ratio, the Fibonacci sequence, or in the Greek as the letter phi. It's an irrational number like pi that can often be found in nature. It's extremely difficult to explain how this number, a sophisticated ratio, a Greek letter, an infinitely expanding spiral, and flower petals are all related. So difficult, in fact, that I am not even going to try. The good news is, I've never had to. Not ever since I found ViHart's explanation on YouTube. Now when I want to teach the class about the Fibonacci sequence, I just play the video. This video, like many of her other videos, starts out with her explaining how your math class is so boring that you end up playing doodle games in your notes. But then as you explore different doodles and implement different rules into your doodle game, you inadvertently end up doing real math simply by following your own curiosity. She also speaks incredibly fast, but she draws everything that she's talking about with Sharpies on her notebook and speeds up the drawings to match her incredibly fast speaking speed. Watching her videos feels like that scene from The Matrix where they downloaded all the knowledge of Kung Fu directly into the brain nearly instantaneously. You could read an entire book on the subject of the golden spiral and not learn as much as you do from her 3 10-minute videos on the same subject. In another video, she explained how she created these videos. She said that she writes out everything word for word in a script, then reads the script out loud as fast as she humanly possibly can while recording it as a voiceover. This, combined with painstakingly drawing everything out in Sharpie in a sped-up time-lapse, means that for every minute of video you spend watching, she has spent a couple hours producing. This is our benefit when learning through video essays, lectures, and TED Talks. What takes an expert years or perhaps even a lifetime to learn, they can convey to us in a 10-minute video. To see this sequence of videos, simply visit the show notes on www.bestclassever.org. The other great educational YouTube channel that I love is Crash Course. This one is far more popular, so I'm sure many of you have heard of it. While they have a lot of good series, the only ones I really truly love and admire are the ones by the two vlog brothers who founded the company. Especially John Green when he talks about history and literature. John Green himself is a novelist. Some of his books have even been turned into movies, such as The Fault in Our Stars and Paper Towns. So you know he's a good writer, which I think is critical when it comes to making educational YouTube videos. I also happen to love literature and history, so I really enjoyed watching his videos. I think these videos are a great supplement to learning and very entertaining, but I do not think Crash Course videos can substitute for learning in the classroom. For me, I love watching videos about subjects that are new to me, but watching a video about physics doesn't really give me the confidence to really know what I'm talking about when it comes to physics. Hank Green, for example, has a great Crash Course video explaining the physics of fire. But if you were to ask me to explain fire to you from the perspective of physics, I would be totally lost, even after watching Hank's Crash Course explanation. Lastly, I would like to recommend a couple videos from CGP Grey. Many of his educational YouTube videos are about fairly esoteric subjects like the confusion concerning the difference between England, Britain, and the United Kingdom. But every now and then he takes a long, dense, but critical book analyzing history and condenses it into a 10-minute video. I highly recommend his video about historical pirates and how their business relates to public relations. I also recommend Rules on How to Rule, in which he explains how to successfully rule as a tyrant, whether in a democratic nation or in a dictatorship. Another video in this vein is titled Ameripox, the Missing Plague, in which he quickly conveys all of the key points from the popular book Guns, Germs, and Steel. I tried reading the book, but it is very dense and very long, so just watch the video. And if, while listening to this, you are still in the midst of a pandemic, I cannot convey how helpful it was to watch his video about managing mental health. If you were on lockdown, you absolutely must watch the video titled Spaceship U. And if you use a smartphone, you might want to also watch 7 Ways to Maximize Misery. If you like board games, recreational math, or Vihart's math videos, then you would probably like CGP Grey's video titled Hexagons Are the Bestagons, which is yet more evidence for my belief that heaven is more likely built out of equilateral triangles using a 12-base number system, as opposed to a base 10 number system made out of squares like the world we are currently living in. Lastly, I would like to recommend a video by John Green in which he explains what he likes about Vihart's YouTube videos. Video is great because it gives us all access to the very best teachers, and it condenses their very best lessons into the shortest, edited versions of their lectures. But without struggle, there is no learning. So if we really want to master our craft, we still have to put in the work to teach ourselves. But how can we do this through the internet? What does successful virtual learning look like? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to post your ideas in the comments or visit me at my website. You can find all of these videos, notes, and other great lessons at www.bestclassever.org.
And thank you so much, Sean, for another wonderful and awesome episode of The Best Class Ever. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. It's really, really inspiring just to see all this amazing, like, you just keep bringing up more and more content, which I think is very, very difficult. You know, I do it every single day, but I have like a system already that I use, but you have to go out and keep researching more and more things. So I think I really, really admire you for that. All right, guys. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. That was the best class ever, which is the last segment for today, which means what, guys? It means we're here at the end of today's podcast. Hope you guys will have an amazing Tuesday, and then we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me